Made it through a weekend of solo dadding. Actually, it went really well. But, there was a lot of sports going on this weekend.
Yeah.
And it was weird. I just had no interest in any of them.
Do tell.
I know. I don't know why, but the days were so busy and they were fine. But at the end of the day, I kept thinking, I'm just going to sit there and watch sports, right? And just kind of veg out. But I don't know why I really didn't have any interest. I don't know if it was because I didn't feel like I could keep up or I didn't want to get too invested in something. I don't know what it was. But I didn't watch any sports over the weekend. No baseball, none of the golf, nothing. Had busy days, and then I put on 2 documentaries Friday and Saturday that I knew Kate wouldn't have any interest in. I was like, you know what? This is my chance. I'm going to watch these things. I've been intrigued by them.
Get the Chinese takeout?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't do it. We did Mexican one night, which turned out to be a big hit. I gave the girls the option of Chinese or Mexican, and they picked Mexican.
Right.
I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll make it work. So Friday, I watched the Oklahoma City bombing Netflix documentary that overall was very well done. If you haven't seen it, it's called Oklahoma City Bombing and American Terror. And for me, that was one of the first news stories in my life I remember as a kid. It would have been 6.5 years old in April of 95. So that's one of the first things as a kid that you remember, or I remember, from a historical perspective. So what was that thing for you guys that you remember? It wasn't the first for me, but it was definitely near the top of the list at about 6.5 years old that I remember seeing on the news.
Mine would have been October 17th, 1989. There was a giant earthquake that happened between the Oakland Athletics and the San Francisco Giants.
Okay.
World Series game.
Yep.
And my aunt lived in San Francisco, so that was a big deal for us.
Okay.
My mom was freaked out
So
about
fall
that.
of 89. So you were how old?
I was 4.
Wow, you got a good memory.
Yeah.
I don't remember much from being 4.
It was seared in my memory. My mom was freaked out about that.
Okay. All right.
We were
That's
watching
fair.
it. The earthquake happened on live TV, and it was crazy.
All right. How about you, John?
Yeah, well, I was 3 when Kennedy was assassinated, so that didn't register for me. And then I'm kind of thinking about how things went from there, and it's like television was ubiquitous like the Internet is now.
Yeah.
Then. So many things were on TV, and so I'm thinking, sure, I remember all kinds of space launches and returns. I remember stuff about the war. The draft was on TV. So less so of maybe any one event, but just that constant coverage of things like that.
Okay, that's fair.
So, yeah.
For me, it was Oklahoma City bombing was near the top of the list. O.J. Simpson happened when I was just shy of 6. He got arrested just shy of 6. Very small memory of that. Have a good memory of the trial being on TV about a year later when I would have been 7. But the Oklahoma City bombing was definitely near the top of my list.
OJ was another one. For me.
Yeah, OJ. Yeah, I mean, that one's seared in. So, and having lived in Oklahoma and being someone who went down to the memorial a couple of times, I said, I got to watch this documentary. Very well done by Netflix. Listen, a little woke, I will admit, a little woke by Netflix. They leaned heavily into the whole thing of all the Okies assumed it was some Middle Eastern with a turban, and it turned out to be a domestic terrorist white guy. Can't believe it. And, tying it into Waco and the anti-government, at one point they said Timothy McVeigh was a big fan of talk radio. They did that whole thing. Yeah. And it was like, okay, guys, I get it.
There was a movie then that was all creepery and stuff.
Yeah. I understand what they were going for a little bit there. But if you strip that out of it, and Netflix does an outstanding job with these documentaries. So if you're looking for something, it's not going to make you all cozy on a Friday night, but it is informative.
I'll tell you what, as you and Mark mentioned yours, I remember where I was as you mentioned yours. So once you realize that, maybe you start remembering things and start marking them from that point.
Yes, exactly. Right? That's sometimes how it works. So it's worth your time. It's worth a watch. Then the other thing I watched on Saturday night, also on Netflix, was the documentary on the Joplin tornado that we're coming up on the 14-year anniversary of. Now, I remember where I was for that because I was in Oklahoma in 2011. I had dropped Kate off at a hotel in Oklahoma City because she screwed up her flight. She booked a flight home. We were not living together at the time. I had just moved out there. She was coming out to visit me. She booked a flight home from Oklahoma City for 6 a.m. instead of 6 p.m. So she screwed up her flight. So I said, I got to go back to work. I was living in Woodward, which is about 2.5 hours away. So I left her in a hotel in Oklahoma City because her flight was at 6 a.m. the next day instead of 6 p.m. on Sunday night. And I saw it on the news when we got to her hotel that the Joplin tornado happened. And that Netflix documentary, did either you, Mark, did you see that one as a weather nerd?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen both of those. They were both great.
See, I didn't think Joplin was great. I did, because it was too much about these people and
the stories.
Yeah, the stories of people like sitting inside of a tornado. And it's compelling for a little bit, but an hour-and-a-half documentary where 30 minutes of it is people talking about, I saw this white sky, I couldn't believe it. It's like, I want to know about more so the buildup and then the fallout and the rebuild than 30 minutes of people being like, I couldn't believe it. I was inside of a tornado.
Yeah, it was a lot of personal stories.
Yeah, and the personal stuff was too much. A little woke, too, of, some of the storylines, which if you see it, you'll watch. But as a weather nerd, I appreciated what they were going for, but it just didn't hit for me.
Weather Channel does so much better.
Yeah, yes, they do a better job.
I saw one of my favorites. This guy goes, I hauled off towards the shop hollering tornado. I saw it, and there it was. Yeah, right, exactly, buddy.
Yeah.
I just started a Bin Laden documentary on Netflix, and I might be able to report back on that by Friday.
Yeah, please let me know how that goes. The Royals are on the West Coast this week, Mark, so you could squeeze in your documentary watching early in the night, okay? But, yeah, they were good. But I would put OKC bombing ahead of Joplin tornado.